To the mighty brow river, young fire has gone to fight by the side of the people of Spain. He come home from the shipyard, set aside his working clothes, a mind to tell well of in those long summer days. Sent for you well, lassie, I'll return soon again. But young Jamie Fire in the battle was slain. In the fight for
If you spend enough time at an Irish song session, the Spanish Civil War and the Irish involvement in it will eventually rear its head, as will the Spanish phrases Adelante and No Pasaran. Despite knowing the songs of the war, I know little else about it, and what it was that led the Irish Brigade, the Connolly Column, to leave their homes and fight for the Spanish Republic. We travelled to Derry to meet publican and songwriter Joe Mulheron, who has been writing and performing anti-fascist and civil rights songs for decades.
So you fell at the Ebro in faraway Spain. You fought so that justice and freedom might reign. Young Jimmy Fire, we'll remember your name. Make sure not one fascist on this earth will remain. There you go. That poster there, that's Charlie Donnelly from Tyrone. He was killed in Battle of Harama, February 37. He was a poet, but that was where the slogan came out of, or the line, even the olives are bleeding. You go up the bar here, I'll show you another. That's a fella called Bob Doyle. He did lose his eye in Spain. He lost it in Dublin, fighting the blue shirts on the streets. He was captured in 38, Battle of Condesa, along with Frank Ryan.
Sure.
And he was tortured by Franco's men, and then he was tortured by the Gestapo. Franco had brought the Gestapo in, but he survived. So come on upstairs and we'll have a yarn.
Who exactly were the Connolly Column? What was its function?
There was a split in the Republican movement, the IRA, in 1934, and some of the leading members of that organisation who were socialists, they got up and they left, and they formed an organisation called the Irish Congress, and that would have been Padre O'Donnell and George Gilmore and a couple of others. Spain was bubbling over and there was a civil war on the way. So Potter went to Spain and Gilmore went to Spain as well. This is before the Civil War actually broke out. Spoke to the Basques, spoke to the different people, and they said there's going to be a civil war, we need help, and there's going to be an international brigade called to come out and help us to fight the fascists. So Potter and Gilmore come back and started holding public meetings asking for volunteers to go out to fight in Spain, and that was where the Connolly Column came out of. They were nearly all ex-IRA men and left-wingers, and some of them communists, and that was it. So, as I said, there was 145 went out, and 61 didn't come back, and they were all young men, like the typical war, you know, they were all 21, 22 years of age, you know.
The memory of the Connolly Column is alive and well in Dublin, due to the efforts of the O'Riordan family, whose patriarch, Michael O'Riordan, fought with the column on the Ebro front.
My granddad would have gone via Liverpool. He would have got a boat to Liverpool under a fake name. I think it was John Smith, as far as I remember. And then from Liverpool, they would have gone to France and crossed the Pyrenees at night, which we always found kind of bemusing looking back, because my granddad couldn't stand in the still without getting vertigo. So the idea of him crossing the Pyrenees was, I still can't really get my head around it.
In 1938, the Battle of the Ebro,
my granddad was nominated to carry the flag in the boat across the Ebro. I have a vague recollection of him telling the story that it was a bad thing to carry the flag because you were obviously a bit of a target then. You weren't carrying a gun, you were carrying the flag. So I think he was kind of reluctant to carry the flag for that very reason, but he carried it across nonetheless. In 1996, I think it would have been in second class in primary school. It was the 60th anniversary of the beginning of the Spanish Civil War, and I was lucky enough that my parents thought it appropriate to bring me along to that because it was at that point where you realised the significance of it all. I mean, we were walking down streets in Madrid and Barcelona, and I think for many people, like of my granddad's generation and older, people in their 80s and 90s who would have been Spanish Republicans, but for decades probably hadn't seen the purple of the Spanish Republican flag, and they were crying. There were people on the streets crying and wailing and clapping, and it was just an outpouring of emotion, which is like, even as an 8-year-old, you could kind of realise the significance of it. Like, it was something I'd never experienced before, and I probably haven't experienced since. There's a number of pictures here from that trip. This is the parade to the Catalonian Parliament that you can see there. The streets are just thronged with people.
Barcelona had invited all the international brigaders who were still alive and able to travel to go to Barcelona for a week. We marched in a torchlight procession, 10,000 of us through the streets of Barcelona, up the Ramblas. It was great, you know. We were there for a week, you see, so I was saying, and what am I going to do for a week at night, you know? I'll have to get a few songs going. So all the Irish, we had 40 of us to start with, and you see by the Wednesday, we had about 200, and everybody they were singing their songs, you know, about the Civil War in different languages, and there was a flamenco guitar player, and there was whatever. We had a great time, you know. I'll sing a song about the men, some of the men in it. And who will call the meeting now, and who will take the chair? Who will lead us out on strike, demand an equal share? For Johnny brave, young Johnny, in Ireland won't remain. Gone to fight the fascists in the Civil War in Spain. Aye, with men from many countries, you fought to save Madrid. No one knows how you held the world, no, you did. The people armed with sticks and stones against the tanks they came, and they held back Franco's army from the city once again.
After crossing the Pyrenees in the dead of night, the Connolly Column would first meet battle in Andalusia, the southern Spanish province, also known as the home of flamenco. We travelled to Granada to meet Juan Pinilla, a contemporary flamenco singer who has dedicated much of his career to the songs of the Spanish Civil War. We arranged to meet Juan at the Huerta de San Vicente, the summer home of poet Federico Lorca, another figure deeply entrenched in the conflict.
El ejército del Ebro, rumbala, rumbala, rumbala. El ejército del Ebro, rumbala, rumbala, rumbala. Una noche el río pasó, ay Carmela, ay Carmela. Una noche el río pasó, ay Carmela, ay Carmela. Y a las tropas invasoras, rumbala, rumbala, rumbala. Y a las tropas invasoras, rumbala, rumbala, rumbala. Buena paliza les dio.
This is Federico Lorca. Yes, with 34 years, painted by Toledo, 1931. He was very famous as a poet, but he was a very important musician. You can find many photographs of Federico playing piano. Each song has its personality, came from Cádiz, from Malaga, from Granada, and Federico had the soul of each place of Andalusia in its own poems. He knows very, very well the flamenco issues, he well the soul of each song, and so he wrote his poems with this soul. For Franco's authorities, it was awful, For them, the flamenco, who has implicitly this cry against the power, this cry against the power of the money, this cry against the hard working condition of people, it's subversive, and they have to silence it. Los Cuatro Muleros, one of the most important songs in the civil war. The poor people say to rich people, our children born with the hand up. I was born in a family that suffered the civil war. I have a great-grandfather murdered by the fascists, but not murdered, shooting, as many compatriots. My great-grandfather was murdered in one of the 300 lobotomies that Franco's doctors performed here. It was 10 years searching for where the place where the bones of my great grandfather, because they take my great grandfather from Granada to Madrid to this hospital, and they kill him. Okay, so my grandma only want to know where he is, and finally 4 years ago, after 10 years of searching, we finally found it. So we take my grandma with 87 years, crying all the time, My grandma, after 80 years, she said to me, I can't die peacefully now,
I suppose for a lot of people, say in Ireland, the name Lorca is well known, but perhaps the end of his life isn't so well known. Could you explain what happened in the last weeks of Lorca's life?
He goes to 1 kilometer in the north to the Rosales house. His friends, one of the most well-known fascists in Granada go to the house, and he said to the mother's, Rosales' mother, I have to take Federico to the jail, but just for 2 questions. They took him, and two persons more. They go to Bisnar, just 8 kilometers in the north of Granada, and they kill him. But not only kill him, they made with him awful things. I can't imagine how he had to suffer the last hours of his life. A person with so light, Federico, so good person. I imagine he cried a lot, like thousands and thousands and thousands of names of women and men murdered by the fascism. All the years we go each 18 August, and we sing and we dance and we remember Federico.
We paid a visit to the Franco de Visnar, the site of a mass grave where Lorca is believed to have spent his last moments. What I never fully understood about the Connolly Column is what led a group of Irish rebels, just recently enjoying a free republic of their own, to take up arms and risk their lives in a foreign country. Learning about Lorca and the treatment of the countless people who suffered under Franco, I'm beginning to understand why.
1975 died Franco, but not die the middle of the population, Spain's population, that love Franco. You know, they still exist. Now they vote in an election to extreme right. I think we have to think always against that.
I'm going to sing a song in memory of my dad. Some of you might remember him. He was a regular here man. He sadly passed away at the end of September quite suddenly, and one of the things he was looking forward to going back to his full of life was coming back here this Sunday when things were soon. So I'm going to sing this memory hymn. Something screeched within my head as in an empty room. I felt the lightning of the pin run through every bone. I couldn't even scream, Lord, I just sobbed with pain. I didn't want to live, Lord, and turn to sleep again. We always have to be wise, like as we've seen in America and we've seen in various countries across Europe, that there is a threat of the rise of the right, of the far right, that is. The numbers they're getting at the moment are quite insignificant, but that doesn't mean like that in a few years' time they might have somebody who's a better communicator, who managed to captivate young people. So you have to be wise and remember people who stood up against people like that, to make sure we never allow something like that grow in this country.
stone away, oh, roll away the stone, Lord.